It's happened to all of us at one time or another, an upset stomach after eating. You might not even know what caused the problem. It may have been that you were eating contaminated food. Food-borne illness is quite prevalent in the home. Restaurants, hotels, retail establishments, even school cafeterias. Through someone's carelessness, microorganisms were allowed to get on the food, such as chicken, beef, pork, and a variety of other foods. Let's take a look at some of the causes of food contamination and the responsibilities you have in reducing and eliminating food contamination. It's easy to eliminate food contamination if you understand the problem. Microorganisms can't be seen by the human eye, but they're practically everywhere. In the soil, dust, air, on rodents and insects, on unsanitary equipment, and on the body of every human being. These microorganisms can only be seen under a microscope. Shown here are some microorganisms or bacteria grown in a laboratory. The plate was contaminated with a dirty finger and was allowed to grow at room temperature. Bacteria multiplies at a very rapid rate. The longer bacteria is allowed to grow, the more contamination you'll have on the food or surfaces where food is prepared. When someone eats contaminated food, illness can occur. Bacteria is everywhere. Microorganisms are everywhere. But there's a bright light at the end of the tunnel. Most bacteria and microorganisms are not harmful. In fact, less than 1% of microorganisms are harmful to the human being. We need microorganisms to digest our food, decompose our sewage, and return waste products back to the soil. In your job, we're concerned with the microorganisms that can be harmful. Now let's take a look at how food can become contaminated. A food service worker has a skin infection on his neck and scratches it. His hands touch the chicken, and the microorganisms are planted on the chicken. Unfortunately, the chicken is stored at room temperature for several hours. The microorganisms multiply extremely fast. Someone eats the chicken, and then you have an illness created by harmful bacteria. We've learned that bacteria won't grow or multiply in cold temperature. Bacteria will remain on the food, but cold temperature doesn't kill them. The cold simply retards their growth. That tells us food should be refrigerated, and we've learned that a temperature of 40 degrees or less is recommended. We've also learned that anyone with skin infections or other health problems shouldn't work in food service areas. Many food service workers use disposable gloves or appropriate utensils when handling food to prevent potential contamination with bacteria that may be on their hands. How do you kill these harmful microorganisms? When food is heated above 165 degrees, harmful microorganisms can be killed. The fact that high temperatures will kill bacteria doesn't reduce the need for sanitary handling of food and proper cleaning techniques. The use of chemicals such as pesticides and insect sprays are designed to kill insects and other unwanted pests. These chemicals can easily contaminate food and create foodborne illness. Be extremely cautious when using any type of chemicals, sprays, or insecticides in the food storage, handling, or service areas. Toxic metal is another potential hazard. This frequently occurs in the home. More often than not, high-acidity foods such as tomatoes, grapefruit, or other food when stored in open metal cans can cause a reaction between the acid and the metal. The acid in the food can actually eat the plating off the metal can or container. How often do you see someone open a can of juice, take a glass, then place the can back into the refrigerator? Think about that old can opener you've used for years and years. How about all the food that gets caught inside the opener? Bacteria is growing very rapidly. Acids are reacting on the opened metal cans. Bacteria is being transferred to the open can. Then it becomes a food contaminator. The professional action to take is to clean the can opener every day. It must be cleaned and sanitized. Okay, we finally mentioned sanitizing, so let's now explain the difference between clean and sanitary. Clean is something you do with water and soap. You clean your hands. You clean utensils, pots, pans, dishes. Cleaning doesn't kill all the microorganisms. It helps, but it does not do the full job. Sanitizing means you're killing microorganisms. One method that's frequently used is chemical sanitizers. Follow your organization's policy and procedures for chemical sanitizing. One of the most effective sanitizers used in the home is common bleach mixed with water. Bleach kills bacteria, and you could classify bleach as a chemical sanitizer. In food service areas, sanitizers are used to sanitize workstations, floors, utensils, and kitchen equipment. We didn't mention what types of sanitizers are used because each organization has their own sources and special requirements. The point we want to make is cleaning with soap and water is necessary to remove dirt, grease, and other contaminants, but it doesn't kill the bacteria. You have to complete the job by using a sanitizer. Something that's clean is not necessarily sanitary. Another method of sanitizing utensils, dishes, and similar equipment is heat. High temperature kills bacteria also. Next, let's discuss food storage. First in, first out. Create a system so when new food is received, the product already sitting on the shelf is used first. Stack the new food behind or underneath the older product. Store food only in designated areas. Keep the wrapping and containers clean, and above all, keep the storage area clean. Even small bits of food on floors can create insect problems. Freezers and refrigerators must also be kept clean. We know that food service areas are very busy places and everyone's working hard to meet schedules. All we ask you to do is provide as much assistance as possible in maintaining a very neat, clean, and sanitary food service area. Obviously, no matter how conscientious you are, insects can be a major problem in any food area. After all, they must find and eat food just like any other living thing. Let's begin the next subject, and it's something that affects everyone, and that's flies. Keep doors closed as much as possible. Dispose of waste materials properly, and keep garbage properly covered. This helps in keeping flies under control. Some food areas have curtains of air to prevent flies from entering the service area. If you use this type of equipment, make sure it's working properly. Fly electrocutors can be somewhat helpful, but they also create another sanitation problem of dead flies. Electrocutors must be kept clean and emptied frequently. And we don't want to make you sick with this next bit of information, but it's important for you to know something about flies that makes them extremely unsanitary. Flies can typically carry over 1 million germs on their body, and in some cases as many as 6 million germs. That's a tremendous amount of germs. They have hairy bodies, sticky feet, and you never know where they've been. Flies don't have teeth, so their feeding process is another way of transmitting filth and germs. Flies feed only upon fluids. When a fly lands on food, it has to transform any solids into liquids. To do this, it regurgitates some of the liquids previously swallowed, then re-swallows the fluid, and leaves behind a germ-filled residue on the food. Certainly, this is disgusting to human beings, but that's the way flies feed. The next time you see a fly, you know what they're up to, and you should make sure that flies don't contaminate food or food service equipment. Cockroaches have existed for millions of years, and they live in dark corners and come out to feed at night. They also are germ carriers. We're not going to give you a gory story about cockroaches because you know they don't belong in food storage or service areas. Keeping areas clean, utilizing proper food handling storage controls, and not allowing food scraps, crumbs, and other food for them to eat will help make your food service area much safer from contamination. Rats and mice are also food contaminators. Reducing and eliminating their food through proper storage and cleanliness helps control rats and mice. If you notice evidence of rodents, notify your supervisor so action can be taken to eliminate their presence. There are many things you can do to spot a contamination. Be an inspector. The more awareness you have, the better inspector and cleaner you'll be. How about the equipment and machines used in food service? Grinders, cutters, knives, meat slicers, and other appliances must be kept in good condition and cleaned and sanitized after use. Dirty vents blow bacteria all over the area, so clean vents will help reduce food contamination. Dirty clothing spreads bacteria, so make sure you wear clean clothing. One area that's neglected quite often is the carbon filter on the water faucet, if you have one of these filters in place. If the filter doesn't have antibacterial ingredients, you may be spreading a lot of harmful bacteria. If you have one of these filters, be sure to change the replaceable filter often. Dust on the cans of food you open can cause contamination as well. Make sure the thermometers in the refrigerator and freezer are working properly, and you change vent filters frequently. If you use wooden cutting boards, don't wash wooden cutting boards with soap and water. This leads to cracks where bacteria can hide, grow, and contaminate food. Clean wooden cutting boards with a wire brush and scraper designed specifically for wooden cutting boards. This training program isn't designed to cover all the things you need to know about cleanliness, sanitation, food temperatures, and good housekeeping. It's designed to make you more aware of your responsibilities in a food service environment. Sanitizing dishes, glasses, containers, utensils are all part of your job responsibility. Maintaining good grooming and personal hygiene are basic requirements. Changing your clothing when it becomes soiled is simply part of your responsibility. When you contaminate your hands, wash them. After reporting to work, wash your hands because you've contaminated your hands with bacteria on the way to work. Every time you use the bathroom, wash your hands and wrists with warm water and an antibacterial soap. Bacteria is everywhere, and it can be quite harmful, so take the time and effort to control it. How about jewelry at work? Leave jewelry at home. It can get dirty and cause bacteria contamination. Of course, never smoke in food areas. If you smoke, do so only in designated areas and wash your hands before returning to work. There are hundreds of things we've left out of this program, but it all adds up to you and the responsibility you have in achieving a clean, sanitary food environment. Because it's up to you, because you're in there doing the job, and you know what's going on and are best suited for the job. It's not easy. It's hard work. But then again, it's your job. And don't forget, you can take sanitation home with you when you leave work.